the street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We're continuing to January all over the place up in here. If you're watching live, if you're watching in the future, I have no idea what day or month it may be, but welcome and thank you for joining us. You have the distinction of, as you know, I often do notes and things at the beginning of a show, and we're doing a makeover for the new year, and the first bit of it is right there. Not my hat. My hat is lovely, cherry blossoms. I fucking love them. No, the banner up top. We've rebranded the show. We're now calling it Learn Together Live, because that's what we do. That's what we've been doing since the start of December. And it's really hard to clearly communicate what a show is about, but in this case, we can. Also, it lends itself to a neat little acronym or initialism or whatever. It's a LTL, which works for me because, as many of you know, I was, until this past year, a commercial driver. And most of my time as a commercial driver was as an LTL driver. In that case, it meant less than truckload. Now it means something different, but we get to keep the same letters. So that's something. Thank you all so much for joining. It's Monday. I'm still working my way through my first coffee. I should wait until we actually are live before I put the chat up, not during the countdown. But that does mean we're probably going to get a new countdown. I'm not going to rush myself on it and stress over it, but I'm going to try to get things more in line with the branding and like make a, you know, professional thing. Not to worry, I'll keep the music. I'll just change the graphics. Cuz I know so many people are like the reason we do such a long countdown is because people demand the entire song. And honestly, I can't fault them because it's a bop. We've got a license for it, why not use it, right? So, yeah. Right. Ryan says, remove your name on screen. Normally, I do when it's just me, but since this is a show where often other people show up, then things move once another person appears. So I just leave it for now. When it is just me, everybody knows I'm Ember because this is the channel we're on. It's probably fine. It's uh Jester says, I wonder if I ever packed an LTL that ended up in Ember's truck. It could be. I've worked for a whole bunch of different companies over the many years. C'est la vie. Earlier, first of all, thank you all so much for joining us in the live chat. It's lovely to see you. Highlight of my day. But also, if you're watching in the future, if you want to join us in the live chat, there's a super easy way to do that. Hit the subscribe button. Click that little bell for notifications. And maybe set an alarm. We're here every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I know, because I set an alarm. So I'm not late for my own show. That would be most unfortunate. Now, we do have other things in development that are coming along. For example, oh, right, I wanted to get a thing open. I got distracted. I'm trying to do a lot of things at once here, folks, because Mondays, we do Java and Jugs, and then we do, well, I do this show, and sometimes some of the Java and Jugs crew joins me, but we've got other things in development. There's a new video that I'm really proud of that's in its early phase of release, because one of the perks of membership here on the channel is members get early access to all new pre-recorded videos, which I realize I don't do nearly as often as I would like, but there's a very important one coming up and it's currently available to members. It'll be live in a couple of days, sooner if another crisis happens, whatever the case may be. But stuff is happening, stuff is coming, and if you want the behind the scenes on all the things that are happening and coming, well, I mean, there's a website for that. But if you want to do that here, consider joining. Getting an Ember membership, an Embership, if you will. It helps the channel quite a bit, and it comes with a whole bunch of benefits, not just custom emojis, but also early access to all new pre-recorded videos and members only live streams. I try to do at least one a month, and there's a bunch of other stuff. At the highest level of support, or if you're a supporter on Patreon, you get your name in the credits at the end of every show, for example. But we're not here to capitalism. We're here to talk about cool things. So I am joined by the one and only atheist queen of Detroit, Miss Kelly King. How are you today?
I am feeling under the weather, but I'm here.
It's a rough time for a lot of people. Let me see if there we go. I don't want the chat blocking your face. That would be rude.
Yeah, I know. Can't see me.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been fighting the cold
you.
for a long time, and I think it might be
this side
worse.
Peekaboo.
Hey, everybody in the chat. I see Ryan is here, Theo, Rainbow. Some of the same people just straggled over, and Cosmic Kyle is new. Oh,
That's
Jess
right.
is here. Yeah, Jess, you're here. Hello,
Hell
beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. It's always lovely to see Jess. Jess and I are up to another thing of mischief, completely aside from everything else. But you know, that's like I said, there's a lot of things in works all the time. My stars are too fast. How about I may end up with a completely different background, but how about this one for right now? Because we're doing art
now?
today.
It's a plain little darkness.
No, the stream background.
Oh, that's not the rainbow.
Mine is just void. It's just a void. Yeah.
The rainbow. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love the rainbow. That's beautiful. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I started with the moving star background. Yet Rainbow says the stars were messing with my eyes. My original background was just a static picture of the stars because I took it myself on a night when I was out chasing Comet Neowise, and I caught a cool glimpse of the galaxy, and it was really, really, really neat. And so I just took my own astrophotography and made it my background. That's the same image that's the basis of the moving stars image. As I got further and further into science communication on this channel, then I decided we're moving, we're going places, we're moving forward. So I added like that warp speed effect, but it's gone through a few incarnations over the years. But maybe we'll do something a little bit different for Learn Together Live. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out as we go. But yeah. But that's the future. Today, we're talking about the past. And that brings me to today's topic. Prehistoric art. Ancient art. In fact, it's prelingual. That's what makes it prehistoric, definitionally. So, for anybody who isn't aware, the line dividing history from prehistory is written language. When a culture gains the ability to write stuff down, now they have a history. That's what history is. Anything before then is prehistoric. So the dividing line changes depending on the culture and when they gain access to written language. But before there was written language, before there were words, they were still people. And people need to express themselves. They need to pass on their knowledge to other people. The people who come after them, the future generations. Remember when humans cared about future generations? It was a wonderful time. So we're going to look into that because I fucking love art. I fucking love history. And this goes into so many different things, anthropology, as well as artistic expression and all sorts of other things. So today, that's our mission. And thank you all so much for joining us. All right, let me see here. I need to go over to this window. So today we are once again in the Wikipedia for a couple of reasons. One, the articles sometimes are very comprehensive, as this one seems to be. For another, they have really cool art insets that we can often look at. And for third, if we need a reference, if we need a source for a thing, it provides them. And that's really fucking handy. So we're doing Wikipedia today. So we begin the article. In the history of art, prehistoric art is all art produced in pre-literate, prehistorical cultures, beginning somewhere in very late geological history. Now, this is also, it's so many things I'm trying to say all at the same time. It drives me crazy. The development of art leads directly into the development of language because written words, literacy, they aren't inevitable. Not every human culture has developed them, but many have. But we often see when we see the development of it is they'll start with art. They'll start with pictures, and the pictures become pictograms and eventually become what we might think of as emojis or emoticons. And eventually those become letters. The concept becomes an idea, becomes a phoneme, and it becomes a representative of a partial thought being conveyed. And so you end up, the words I'm saying now are the verbalizations of a bunch of images that started out as pictures. All just run together very fast. It's fucking cool. But I digress. Cosmic Kyle sends us a super chat for $5. Thank you, Kyle. And Kyle says, paying forward community love. I can speak on behalf of everyone here when I say, Ember, you are a necessity? Essential. I am essential. I have an essential oil over here. It smells like lilacs. It's delightful. And if you have like an unscented candle and you pour an essential oil into the candle, careful not to put it out, but for a little while you'll have a scented candle, and that's pretty neat too. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it. I don't know that you can actually speak for everyone on that one, but I do appreciate the sentiment. There are a few people around who sadly are not fans of Ember. Alas, I know, I don't understand either. But there's some good coming from that whole situation. In fact, that leads me back to the thing that I was hinting about that I feel weird about it because I don't want to like promote, but it also needs to be promoted. So as you may be aware, there's been a subgroup within our community who has been not exactly humanist about things recently. And I can't, I'm trying to show you something, but I can't get my screen to cooperate. It's being very rude. You know what? Let me try. That'll have to do. All right. So this is the studio where it shows the scheduled content. This is what's coming up, is how to support survivors without causing harm. It's a best practices guide. And while it is a noble thing to do in and of itself, if I do say so myself, it's a thing that needs to exist. The bullshit we've been seeing in the community for the past month has made it clear how very necessary this is. Because while a lot of people generally want to support survivors, they want to do right by people, they want to help, they don't know how. And good intentions, it turns out, aren't good enough, because a group of people got their hands on some good intentions and then declared themselves the knowers of all things knowable and started spreading some dangerous misinformation, and then started hurting people on purpose about it. So we need to correct a lot of that. And this video that's coming up, it isn't just to correct the dangerous misinformation. That's part of the point. But the overall goal is to create a primer for how to go about supporting survivors in a non-harmful way. Because there's a lot of ways people can accidentally cause harm by not knowing better. Like, for example, if someone is trying to open up and convey something traumatic in their past, and you say something like, yeah, I know how that feels. Like, a lot of us say shit like that to connect with somebody and like strengthen our relationship and like let them know that you're being empathetic, but that doesn't work in cases of trauma, because it sounds like you're saying, you're telling them how to feel. You know how it should feel. You're not listening. You're telling your story. You see how that can be a problem? It's good intention, but it can cause harm. So we need to correct these things. We need to be educated on these things. This is not an exhaustive guide. It's a primer, but I collected information from dozens of professionals across the country with various organizations. And it is the closest to a definitive best practices book as one can make. That's why it took a month to produce. So, yeah, there are people who are very much not fans of Ember, but we're turning that unfortunate situation into something good. So, yeah. I'm trying to scroll. Jester says, oh my God, Ember, that's so woke. I'm not sure what's so woke. Maybe it's the art, because I've been off for a bit. Lilac. Oh goodness.
I just noticed I like your dress.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I changed in between shows. I got everything changed over more quickly than I thought. And I'm like, you know what? I can change. And then I won't be wearing the same thing on 2 consecutive shows.
Well, that's me. I don't have it on the same thing. I don't care. And I'm probably gonna wear this shirt to work.
I know, I love variety. And since we're talking about art today, I'm like, why not be a little artsy? And I never get to wear this. Like, this is maybe the second time I've worn, because this is actually an overdress you're supposed to wear over a swimsuit. I don't need the swimsuit though. I can just wear it. There's not that much difference between a bra and a bikini top when you have something over it, It just says hibiscus is delicious. I digress. But yeah, I know all of this is woke. All of it. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Miranda says, based on the very little I know, I'm not sure how good some people's intentions are either. Fair. Very, very, I mean, when somebody sets out with the intention of hurting people, it doesn't really scream good intentions, It just, Anyway, back to the art. So, prehistory, late geology, recent-ish in geological terms. So they generally continue as a prehistoric culture until they either develop writing or other methods of record keeping, or make significant contact with another culture that has and inherit their method of writing or record keeping. See, this is a mind virus. Language is a mind virus because it spreads from mind to mind and contaminates other cultures. It's wild that way. Social constructs, but that's a cool thing about being human, is we can learn from other humans. We don't have to relearn everything ourselves. At that point, ancient art begins. So for the older literate cultures, the end date for what is covered by the term of prehistoric art varies between parts of the world. Prehistoric art versus ancient art. It's has nothing to do with the art itself. It's the discovery of literacy. But that's how we divide things, because we decided. So the earliest human artifacts showing evidence of workmanship with an artistic purpose, not utility, like, you know, the old flint hand axes that are just chipped away to make an edge, like that's a tool. It isn't really for art purposes. Art denotes a different thing going on. It's a person with crafting skill, with the free time to make art with. There's a whole bunch of different factors that have to be present for art to happen. And so it's cool, though. Jess asks, do they get to Naledi, though? I don't know. I haven't been through the whole article. I have no idea if Homo Naledi is mentioned in here. I suppose we could check. We can do a Control F. How do we spell that? Naledi. It's not showing up in a Control F search. That doesn't mean it isn't in here, but I suspect this is more like right before literacy kind of art. But maybe. We'll see. We'll find out. Where the hell were we? The earliest human artifacts showing evidence of workmanship with an artistic purpose are subject of some debate. It is clear that such workmanship existed 40,000 years ago in the Upper Paleolithic era, although it is quite possible that it began earlier. For example, it's not this Venus. There's another Venus that looks kind of similar. I forget her name off the top of my head, but she's something like 70,000 years old. Turns out people were making women statues. It's like the first thing every culture does is, I'm going to make a woman, you know? Kind of makes you wonder about that gospel story, or not the gospel story, the Bible story about how man created woman, kind of.
This
Why
is
not
where
carve
we
a woman
need
out the
deviant.
rip? Who knows?
That's what I was
It's
saying. A deviant would know this.
So yeah, 70,000. Where the hell was it? 40,000 years ago. Although it is quite possible they began earlier. In September 2018, which is much more recent than that, scientists reported the discovery of the earliest known drawing by a Homo sapiens, not a Homo naledi, alas, but a Homo sapiens, which is estimated to be 73,000 years old, much earlier than the 43,000-year-old artifacts understood to be the earliest known modern human drawings found previously. This is a 35,000-year-old drawing here, 35,000 before present. Remember, from previous shows, present means 1950. So it's not on the scale of 35,000 years. It doesn't mean much, but a little closer in, we're almost a century removed from the present, because that pin got laid down in 1950 for carbon dating calibration purposes. So yeah, when we say before present, that's what we mean. We don't mean today. We mean 1950. Don't let scientists decide things. They'll do badly. You'll end up with God particles and chromosomal atoms and things. Yay. Engraved shells created by Homo erectus. So we are getting out of Homo sapien. That's something. Engraved shells created by Homo erectus, dating as far back as 500,000 years ago. Citation. Homo erectus at Trinil on Java used shells for tool production and engraving. Now, was it really art engraving, or was it like, this hand axe belongs to Bob, property of Bob, something? I don't know. Although experts disagree on whether these engravings can be properly classified as art. Well, of course, disagreeing is what experts do. And no, seriously, I sound like a contrarian, but that actually is the point. That's what we do with science, is one person proposes a hypothesis and everybody else tries to knock it down. That's how we do the falsifiability thing. Often things are falsified, but that's the point. If it's false, we don't want to include it in our understanding of how things actually work. So there's that. From the Upper Paleolithic through the Mesolithic, cave paintings and portable art, which sounds like a business that needs exploitation, such as figurines and beads, predominated, with decorative figures, with decorative figured workings. English is hard, and it's Monday. Decorative figured workings, also seen on some utilitarian objects. In the Neolithic, evidence of early pottery appeared, as did sculpture and the construction of megaliths. That's right, megaliths. They may be astronomical observatories, but they can also be artistic. Multitasking. Early rock art also first appeared during this period. Weirdly, when they're playing with rocks, they've also played with the rocks. Who could have seen that coming? The advent of metalworking in the Bronze Age brought additional media available for use in making art, an increase in the stylistic diversity, and the creation of objects that did not have any obvious function other than art. Unfortunately, art too gets subject to scientific falsifiability, because if you have an object, the first thing you do before you declare that it's art is you try to see if it is actually for something else. Never mind that, like we talked about with the Ariadne and civilization, a lot of times art is also a useful object. Like, you're making a thing with a function anyway, why not also make it pretty? So just because it has a function doesn't mean it isn't art. In fact, architecture is arguably, while it's technically engineering, it's also an art form when you're not making, gray boxes. Yeah, there's art to architecture too. So if a thing has a purpose, that doesn't mean it's not artistic. In fact, to do it properly, it should be somewhat artistic at the very least. Anyway, it also saw the development in some areas of artisans, a class of people specializing in the production of art, as well as early writing systems. By the Iron Age, civilizations with writing had arisen from ancient Egypt to ancient China, and many places in between. It's worth noting they leave out the Western Hemisphere. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is because of the continuing European-based belief that nobody in North America could write shit down. And that's not true. There were written languages. We have, like, chiseled walls in Inca temples and shit. We have pictograms and hieroglyphs-ish in Mayan ruins. And Mexico City, what's now Mexico City, was like the biggest city on earth when the Spaniards showed up. Even if you don't have, like, Arabic characters and whatnot, or Latin figures, or whatever the fuck you use for writing, you need some kind of writing to run a metropolis, even if it's accounting, even if it's mathematical, right? Like, you may not have a word you can write down to describe cherry blossoms on a hat, but you do have a way to write down 5 barrels of apples,
Yeah.
Say lovey.
Well, Purple said so eloquently, if white people didn't make it, it had to be aliens.
Clearly, as we know from Titans of the Field, like Graham Hancock. It's fucking wild. But there's other ways too. Like, not everything has to be pressed into clay tablets. You know, we know there have been multiple cultures who have used knots on strings as a form of written language. They haven't survived well over the centuries because rope tends to be very biodegradable, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a form of physicalized language, effectively writing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our books don't last terribly long when they're not protected. If you toss a book outside, it'll decay like any other piece of wood, maybe a little more slowly because it's been chemically treated, but it will decay. It doesn't mean the writing on the page doesn't count as letters, you know? Many indigenous people from around the world continued to produce artistic works distinctive to their geographic area and culture until exploration and commerce brought record keeping methods to them because no one could keep records until the Europeans showed up. Some cultures, notably the Maya civilization, independently developed writing. Holy shit, they gave the fucking First Nations people credit for writing during the time they flourished, which was later lost. Right? Like, the Mayan calendar is famous even today. Everybody has heard about the Mayan calendar. You cannot have a calendar without some kind of writing. It isn't
Thank
just
you.
art, you know? Not that there's
And the
anything
world was
just.
supposed to end when the calendar ended in 12, and we're still here.
Oh, that okay.
That
So
was a
I'm
big
not
thing.
expert on the Mayan civilization. I've done a couple of shows on it. It's been fascinating to me, and I always try to learn more where I can. Maybe we'll do another special on it in this show. But as I understand it, the whole huzzabazoo was the fact that it was the long count calendar. It was like 12,000 years or 20,000 something. It was a shit ton of number of years. And when it ran out, people were like, "Oh, that must be the end of the world." And that always seemed silly to me because every calendar runs out, right? Like, we just had our 2025 calendars run out. You just roll over to the next year, you know? This is just a longer calendar, but you just roll over to the next calendar, you know? I know people are looking for things to be dramatic about and get worked up about and whatever. But like, I don't get how it wasn't obvious to everyone. Like, I could see people making a joke about it, like, "Oh, the calendar's gonna end, it's the end of the world." But like, the fuck. Anyway, if your calendar is run out, we can help with that. We have a calendar here in the Ember store that you can get to at betterthanember.com. This calendar for 2026, the Better Than Last Year 2026 calendar, includes much of my own award-winning photography. Every single image in this calendar is an award-winning photo. I have a physical ribbon for it somewhere in that box. So if you still need a calendar for the new year, or you want to give one to someone that has really cool art stuff in it. See, there's one of the images that I showed the other day. It's cropped in really close, but it's there. Anyway, that's available on the website betterthanember.com. I'm trying to do capitalism better. Maya says I need to be specific with my marketing. Like, if I want
Yes.
to plug my calendar, because we're talking about calendars, I should just point at that and not talk about
Yeah, don't
others.
worry about somebody. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yep, that's it. Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do. And I don't know, maybe it'll help. Maybe not. There's other cool shit on betterthanember.com though. There is quite a lot of useful stuff. You should definitely peruse the website. But the calendar is there in the store. Just saying. All right, continuing on. These cultures may be classified as prehistoric, especially if their writing systems have not been deciphered. Wowzers! Wow. So if we haven't figured out their writing, their history doesn't count. Holy shit.
Because you're ignorant, don't understand. We supposed to suffer.
Oh, that almost makes me like hyperventilate a little bit. Like, That's
Yeah, that's like when I was growing up, we taught that the Native Americans, Indians, ever were like these savage beasts, and then you found out they had laws and stuff as well. It's crazy.
we still see that shit. Like a philosopher a while back proposed levels of civilization, right? Like you've got your savages where they're just hunter gatherers and there's no laws. It's if they survive, it's almost by chance apparently. But then they start to like come together and live in tribes and behave themselves, and then they're barbarians. And you go up levels and levels and levels, and the whole purpose of it is to justify colonialism. It's just apologetics for colonialism, because it's saying that the more civilized society have an ethical duty to impose their own civilized order upon the savage people. We have to use our greater violence to stop the savage violence, the senseless violence. And so improve the lives of those poor people who are actually subhuman, though. It's so gross.
Yep.
But we see it all the time. Miranda says their writing is too complex for us to understand. They must have been ignorant primitive savages. That's clearly how that works. Mm-hmm. Irish DC says, unless they were right, Mayans predicted the end of the world in 2012. It was the final act from 2012 to 2016, and now we're in the blooper reel in the end credits. Oh no!
Maybe
Oh no!
Oh no! It's just a change of the timeline.
I mean, so
alternative universe.
In 2016, a lot of people, Harambe, right? Harambe was the end of humanity. That was it. Like, we're just lingering in the half-life afterwards. And people are like, maybe the world did end in 2012, and Harambe is just like when the power's finally gone out or something. It's fucking wild. Bartholomeu says it did end in 2012. Didn't you watch the movie? I remembered the movie. I made a point of seeing the movie because it was so conspiracy theory flavored. Didn't they build like more Noah's Arks? I mean, it wasn't Noah, but it was kind of the same solution. Oh, fucking hell. Paleolithic era. The lower and middle Paleolithic. Oh my. The earliest undisputed art originated with Homo sapiens Aurignacian or Aurignacian or Aurignac. You see what I mean about letting scientists name things? It's a sub Homo sapiens. It's Homo sapiens. For a while, we called Neanderthals Homo sapiens Neanderthal or Neanderthalis or something like that. I don't know if they count as their own species or they're considered a subspecies, but then we would be a subspecies. We'd be Homo sapiens sapiens. The point is, we're not talking about Homo erectus. We're talking about Homo sapiens Aurignacian. I'll get there someday, maybe, but not today, probably. Anyway, Upper Paleolithic. However, there's some evidence that the preference for the aesthetic emerged in the Middle Paleolithic. Whenever I see a fancy word like aesthetic, my accent changes. I don't know if you've noticed. From 1,000 to 50,000 years ago. Because remember, when we're talking about years ago, we count downwards toward the present because it keeps things interesting. Some archaeologists have interpreted certain Middle Paleolithic artifacts as early examples of artistic expression. The symmetry of artifacts, evidence of attention to detail of tool shape, has led some investigators to conceive of Archeolian, their hand axes, and especially laurel points, as having been produced with a degree of artistic expression. So again, this is the idea that a thing can be a tool and also be artistic. You can make it prettier than it needs to be for the sake of craftsmanship, Just as, okay, please answer phones this way from now on. Plot twist, I don't actually... right, you mean call screening. Oh my God, I can totally do that. That would be hilarious.
You should do that too, Jess.
Oh, my dear boy, may I get your name and pronouns? I know we do that channel that we're talking about, not pronouns, but whatever. You get my drift. It'll be hilarious. Oh, I
Oh
have to
no,
learn how to use
Will.
the system. Apparently, you can record on the screening side, and that might be really, really useful. But I don't know. Anyway, Taweed says, "Who taught us language? Our parents often, and sometimes our school teachers. But if you mean humanity in general, we had to make it up. That's why it goes through so many obvious stages of development rather than say aliens coming down and teaching us. Then we would just like have the whole language in a single generation. It wouldn't take hundreds of thousands of years to develop."
Yeah, because many of the words we use were taken from ancient languages and made into another word that means something similar. 'Cause when I was in school, we had to take Latin. That's dead language now, but it made a lot of the Romance languages that are.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
what it means to be a Romance language. It doesn't mean like French is so seductive or something. S'il
yeah.
vous plaît.
Roman.
Yeah, it's from Rome. It's a
Yeah,
Roman-esque language.
yeah,
Romance. See, I know it does it because we use the term Roman for so many things, including a particular kind of attraction or even love, but that's not where that actually comes from. So yeah, Gomez Adams disagrees. It's true. It's
Hi,
true.
Morticia.
Mon chéri, my heart burns for thee. It would have
If
been
I
better if I
ever
said
had
the
a
whole thing.
relationship, I would want it to be like theirs. They had an undying love.
It's
Only
yeah,
one,
it's
only
pretty
one
neat.
can imagine that.
My favorite thing about them, okay, tangents. I know people come here for the tangents, and that's another thing I'm working on is getting photos of the merch I can bring up as an overlay. We do have a T-shirt. I just come here for the tangents, but never mind that. That's a tangent on the tangent. Adam's Family. I realized that the point was to say these rich people are so out of touch, they're all weird, but I legit really, really like the Adams Family, not just because they're morbid and they celebrate gothness and they're like okay with the concept of death and all of this cool shit. It's because Gomez and Morticia are so deeply in love and yet absolutely not codependent. They're completely fine with each other doing the things they want to do. There's no interfering with each other. You know, there's this, oh, I want you to give up sword fighting because I worry about you. It's, yay, my husband is an amazing sword fighter. You know, it's the way they
Yeah,
support
I
each
love
other while
Adam's
being so
Family.
passionately in love is just, I don't know, maybe I've just always been a silly girl, but to me that's fucking goals, right? You know, I digress.
Yeah.
But in fairness, since Adam's Family is a fictional show, technically it's art. It's a theatrical production. It's not prehistoric, but I
Oh,
will still
Demon
count.
is here now. How wonderful! I was just saying, I wish he was here.
Hooray.
I was just thinking about you, Deviant.
Andrew says, so does Roman love mean gay sex in the doots? Megan Fox's giant boob says, bigots say you're just making up words. Reality says all words are made up. We just use the ones we agree have utility. Uh-huh. All of them. All of them. Not a single fucking word was ever handed to us by an alien that we're sure of. Even an interdimensional supernatural alien. I don't know.
But aliens did create the pyramids, though. That's fact.
I mean, an AI said so. So what do I know?
Let's be true.
Chat GPT said.
It was aliens.
Holy shit. Oh my goodness. All right. Where the hell were we? I didn't mark my space again. I'm so bad at this. Yes, degree of artistic expression. Similarly, a zigzag engraving. Now this may a zigzag pattern. Okay, so we're talking about the pattern. Supposedly made with a shark tooth on a freshwater pseudododon. Pseudododon. Say that 5 times fast. A pseudododon. One of those shell. It's a shell from 500,000 years ago. Well into the lower Paleolithic, associated with Homo erectus, could be the earliest evidence of artistic activity, but the actual intent behind this geometric ornament is not known. So this is a drawing from 73,000 years ago. This is an elephant tibia from 400,000 to 350,000 years ago, which has 2 groups of 7 and 14 incised parallel lines. It might represent an early example of art. So let's get us a close-up look if we can. Open a new tab and let's go over here. Normally it'll show me like the full-sized image, but this is what we're getting. We can see lines cut into it. That doesn't, I mean, I don't know if I'd call that art. Maybe, but it could be tally marks. It could, who knows? Like, we don't know if it has a symbolic meaning or if it's just practical, or if someone were just bored and cut marks into the damn thing. We don't know. We just don't know. C'est la vie. There are other claims of Middle Paleolithic sculpture dubbed the Venus of Tantan. See, everybody makes women. We're just always, now I don't know how you're sure this is a woman. I don't know. The Venus of Tantan is an alleged artifact. I mean, could it be a funny shaped rock? Maybe, but it's a stretch. So it's an alleged artifact from Morocco, and its contemporary, the Venus of Barakat Ram, has been claimed as the earliest representation of the human form. Of course, everybody wants to claim the earliest representation of the human form. Here's a fun fact. The earliest representation of the human form is humans, because every human is a representation of the human form. Remember, the reification fallacy works the other way. The map is never as much the place as the place is. So yeah. So there's the Venus of Barakat Ram, which looks even more like a funny shaped rock, but it could have been sculpted. It says it's a pebble that has been modified by early humans to suggest a representation of the female human figure. It's a very faint suggestion, but maybe. But we're not here to judge art. We're here to talk about the early attempts at art. In 2002, in a Blombos cave situated in South Africa, stones were discovered engraved with grid or cross-hatched patterns dated to some 70,000 years ago. This suggested to some researchers that early Homo sapiens, oh my goodness. Hey, my homios, how y'all doing?
Homies.
Detroit Atheist 24/7 sends a super chat for $5 and says, morning coffee for our favorite empress. Wait, I assume you mean me, because I am in fact the holder.
You are
of
the only empress that I worship.
So this was a gift from our friend of the community, Helen from Freethinker Fireside, and she said it's a plastic thingy.
That's the best Helen.
Hell yeah. And it's an empress. It may be backwards on your screen. I don't know, but it's the empress. So I have the literal empress card, and I can play my empress card whenever I like.
Yes.
Such as right around now, because we're about the halfway mark. So I want to take a quick break and remind you all to tangent back to the earlier tangent of why we need to be cognizant of how we show compassion for other people and generally be intentional with what we're doing, because this is what happens if we let the people who want to do harm have their way.
I have a problem with this stuff being normalized across the spectrum, and specifically, like, why push this on kids? Why introduce this to kids?
I am a depraved wretch. I am a great sinner. I'm a worm, completely undeserving of any love or any grace. I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
You're incapable of being a good person. You're an evil person. You're a terrible person. At the core fabric of who you are. That's why we need laws. We need laws because we're bad people. All of us are bad people.
You can't spell Pride Month without demon. PRIDEMONTH.
If we don't know who the women are, because they are just people, then we won't be able to pull the women up to equality with men.
We have to try to limit the harm. And that means reducing or keeping down the number of people who transition. And that's for two reasons. One of them is that every one of those people is a person who's been damaged. But the second one is every one of those people is basically, a huge problem to a sane world.
Transgenderism must be eradicated.
The LGBT, transgender, grooming our children's minds is a national security threat. We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people.
I will use whatever gives me victory. I don't care about the truth, and I don't care about the law. I care about one thing, the control.
But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president.
Then what happened is they rigged the election, and I became president, so that was a good thing.
I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president, but I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
We've been hoodwinked. We've been taken in by an ideology crafted by creeps and then pushed on children.
Stop letting people pressure you into thinking.
If they die, they die.
I want to be ignorant, honestly.
Being a Christian doesn't exclude us from experiencing spiritual dryness.
We're bad people. All of us are bad people.
Bree says, I love being a huge problem to the sane world. I am but the monster you made me. I mean, in fairness, you are a magnificent monster, and I aspire to being half as terrifying. One day, we'll get there. I believe in me. Aunt Jerry says, everybody, who is your favorite evolution communicator?
And everybody says Erica.
It's a tough one because there's so many good ones. Forrest and Erica are some of the two who pop first to mind. While there's some issues with some other evolution communicators. As evolution communicators, some of them do some pretty damn good work, which is one of the reasons I don't want to name the name of the one that I have a problem with, because
I would say the same thing. Somebody I don't like, but I will say
does some good work. So but there's so many. How are we to pick just one? I'm gonna have to default to Forrest, because not only do I really enjoy his quirky style, but I've actually met him in person. He was a guest at my convention, NoCoCon, not to be confused with NanoCon, which is held the first weekend in June in Watertown, New York. That's a tangent upon tangent. We'll probably talk about that a bit as we get closer, but that's not important right now. The point is, we try to be like a VidCon for the East Coast. We tend to feature TikTok creators, and that's where Forrest started. And I was like, if we can get nerdery and science on the main stage, I am all about that. And so we brought Forrest in. And so I met him. And you may find this hard to believe, but he's actually more wholesome in person. I know, it's crazy, but it's true. Anyway, that's my answer, just because I met him in person, which is neat. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up. Jester says Forrest and Erica. Marin says Erica and Forrest. Hell yeah. I mean, the two of them together. Jester says Clint is awesome. Yeah, Clint from Clint's Reptiles. Absolutely. Bree says, I like what Clint has been up to. And honestly, Clint is a good name. It's yeah. And there's the link. Aunt Jur, way ahead of me as always. Thank you so much, Aunt Jur. We don't thank our mods often enough, because mods do more than just keep the bigots out and enforce YouTube TOS. They also link us to things that we might like to know about, that we might not be aware of. If you haven't seen Clint's Reptiles, the link is right there, and it's thanks to Aunt Jur. So thank you. Hypesai says Dapper is good. I suppose, yeah, he does talk about evolution a lot. It's one of his hobbies. So yeah, we do dig our dinosaur friend. Yeah, so there's quite a few. There are quite a few. I'm trying. Yeah, Gutsick Gibbon. That's what we mean by Erica. Is her actual name is her YouTube name is Gutsick Gibbon, but her IRL name is Erica. You'll see her on call-in shows from time to time. So yeah, it's good stuff. Bree says Forrest is also 9'7". That's true, because at the time, I was still 5'10", and he was almost twice my height. So it really is true. He's nearly as tall as Erica is. So yeah, and there's links. Andrew's got all the links today. Fantastic. So yeah. Yeah, we can skip over. Oh shit, I lost the thing. Miranda says we can skip over the transphobic one. There's so many better educators who actually keep up with the science, like Forrest and Erica. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh yeah, and Jackson Wheat, I haven't heard from him doesn't mean he hasn't been up to anything, but I haven't heard from him in a while. But he's one of my favorites because he literally wrote the book to answer Ken Ham's question. Ken Ham, of course, head of Answers in Genesis, who's famous for saying, "Were you there?" Whenever you say the earth is such and such old, he says, "Were you there?" He wasn't there either, but never mind that. Well, the rocks were there, and Jackson Wheat wrote the fucking book about it. So, yeah. Now, I realize we're on a major tangent now, but I'm good with it. We're promoting the community and talking about evolution. So, both of those things I am a big fan of. So, hooray. Okay, but now we can resume our actual. What the fuck was that pop-up? Let's get back to what we're up to. Shall we? Yes. This suggested the 70,000-year-old crosshatch pattern. It suggested to some researchers that early Homo sapiens were capable of abstraction and production of abstract art or symbolic art. Several archaeologists, including Richard Klein, I don't have strong feelings about Richard Klein. I don't know who that is. Are hesitant to accept the Blombos caves as the first example of actual art. Okay, I don't like the use of first, perhaps earliest, because that acknowledges that that's earliest that we're aware of, but it doesn't mean it's first. In September of 2018, the discovery in South Africa of the earliest known drawing by Homo sapiens was announced, which is estimated to be 73,000 years old, and that would be this one up here. Let me see if we can get a good view. Maybe we can get. It's kind of low resolution. I'm not a fan, I have to say. Maybe I'm too close. Maybe I'm too. Okay, that's slightly better. It could be a drawing. I don't know. It's the image stripped of 3D elements to retain 2D elements only per common. Maybe that's why the resolution looks low, is it's actually a 3D scan. And so we've lost like a whole dimension of data and detail. I don't know. But I mean, it could be a drawing. Hard to say. So much earlier than the 43,000-year-old artifact understood to be the earliest known modern human drawings found previously. The drawing shows a cross-hatched pattern made up of 9 fine lines. The sudden termination of all the lines on the fragment edges indicate that the pattern originally extended over a larger surface. It is also estimated that the pattern was most likely more complex and structured in its entirety than shown on the discovered area. Initially, when this drawing was found, there was much debate. As we mentioned previously, is what happens. It's sort of the point. I'm noticing that there's still discussion and links. Where I guess we're on to archaeologists now, Flint Dribble, and Jess, the havoc you have caused in my chat. She didn't even. This is how powerful Jess is. People don't understand. They think she's on an asteroid. She's remote. Even when she's not on a show, she can't really do much. Oh no, she can derail an entire stream with one innocent question in the side chat. That is what power looks like. That is what it means to rule an asteroid.
Gotta love our Jess.
Hell yeah. He says, I'm so sorry.
No. No excuses needed.
Oh my goodness. Oh, but you know what? What I've forgotten to do so far, and I mustn't forget to do any longer. I realize we just ran the longer commercial, but
oh, we did. Oh,
if you
get thirsty about Forrest and you're getting thirsty, and we missed Forrest a lot today, and
clearly that must be it. If you're
water slept, and we didn't even.
That's right. If you're thirsty for your favorite archaeologist, we could help. Hey folks, I've been working hard on my health, and so far I've lost over 140 pounds. A huge part of good health is hydration. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Epic Water Filters. Check this out. Not only can you say goodbye to expensive bottled water, but these filters are made in the US, so no tariffs, and they're made to fit your life. From these lovely pitchers I can fill from, to sink units, to portable filters that fit in your reusable bottle. With Epic, I can refill from nature's water sources and not have to worry about bacteria and whatnot. But also, send back a used filter to be responsibly recycled, and they'll send you a free replacement, saving you and the earth even more. Want to save a ton of money, be healthier, and build a better world? Head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't settle for random water. Upgrade to Epic. Okay. Now we've gotten the obligatory thing. Normally, I get that in a little bit more smoothly, and if you want to get it in more smoothly, oh sorry, that's wrong channel. It's part of the thing. I'm supposed to run one every show, and sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I just have to cram it in wherever I can make an excuse for it. But we do our best here, folks. But I try to get it in earlier so we don't have to worry about it, but we work with what we've got. Anyway, I've got multiple layers of distractions going on in my head. Thank you, folks. I haven't even finished my first cup of coffee, and my squirrel brain is chasing down 7 different things at the same time. Or 10 things, if I have them. Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, let's dig into the upper Let's try that again. Live broadcasting. Let's dig into the upper Paleolithic. Words are so hard. Why? In November 2018, scientists reported the discovery of the oldest known figurative art painting, over 40,000, perhaps as old as 52,000 years old, of an unknown animal. It's so old, the animal is no longer identifiable. We don't even recognize what it might be. In the cave of Lubang, and if you want a Lubang, never mind. Lubang Jari Sele on the Indonesian island of Borneo, while in 2020, a Megaloceros bone, we'll stick with that, was found in the Harz Mountains in Germany, on which specimens of Homo neanderthalensis carved ornaments 51,000 years ago. So these are about the same age, give or take 20,000 years. And one of them is let's see if we can get up close. This is clearly intended to be a drawing, a painting. I think we can solve the mystery, though. We can tell from the discoloration on the front, this is obviously Rudolph, which makes it a reindeer. Just throwing that out there. But I mean, it's got a body shape, it's got the legs, it's got the head. It's not just our pareidolia, our pattern sensing brains that are going, this looks like an animal. This was clearly created and intended to look like an animal. And that's an important distinction.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, in Germany, they're carving shit on rocks. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, but it's very clearly done on purpose, or possibly by glaciers.
Got a hand like folded, supposed to be like a fist or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's the symmetry that makes people assume that it's carved or created, or because it's made from a bone, right? You can see the end of the bone down here.
Mm.
So it is a bone, and it has been carved. And then it's got these 3 marks. Maybe it was like a tribe mark. Maybe there used to be another piece of art there that's been, who knows? I sure as hell don't know.
It looks like it must have been some type of cow. That's what Purple said. I don't know.
I mean, it could have been the head of a staff. It could have been, I don't know. I just don't know. It's fine. But what I do know
in the show
is that Jester sent us a super chat for $2. Thank you, Jester, and says, I believe you have a historian ready to join. So we could I don't think we've had Deviant Dawn this year. It's been a whole year. So we can.
And I've been thinking about Deviant this whole show.
I know. I mean, we aren't anywhere in the vicinity of ancient Egypt, but history, art, stuff relating to language. So yeah, I just sent Deviant to Thingy, and she may pop in. We'll find out. It'll be a surprise.
Deviant is a great presence for me.
Yeah. Jester going, mwah.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. So yeah.
You know Ember so well.
I know. I'm distractible. I'm multi distracted, as previously mentioned. I'm like trying to catch up with a million different things all at the same time. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Okay. The oldest undisputed works of figurative art, undisputed, were found in the Schwäbisch Alb in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, which I know I mispronounced all of those things. Forgive me. The earliest of these, the Venus figurine, that Venus, the famous Venus, the Venus that's on the thumbnail of this episode, that Venus is known as the Venus of Hohlfels, which is not the same. No, this Venus is the Venus of Hohlfels, the one up top. This is the Venus of Willendorf, who's actually a fairly young lady compared to some of these other Venuses.
Well, she's young.
Isn't it interesting that today...
It looked like that it could be a lady, though.
Oh, yeah, this one is definitely intended to be a female figure of some kind. Like, I don't know. There's some details that are weird and maybe for different reasons, but there are very clearly intentional efforts to put female features on here. And so that's neat.
She has a nice pair of ears.
For real. But it's nice. It's interesting. It's interesting is the word I'm looking for. That for thousands of years of mostly peaceful, gradual process, technological development, etc., humanity revered women. About the same time, the culture shifts from making figurines of women to making figurines of penises all of a sudden we start having wars all the time. It's almost like there's a relationship when we switch from idealizing the female to idealizing the male, we become very warlike, almost like there's a relationship. Now, I'm only broadly gesturing. I'm not implying there's a definite conclusion. Correlation is not causation. But there's definitely a correlation, and we may want to look into that, perhaps. Maybe. Anyway. Further depictional art from the Upper Paleolithic period, broadly 40,000 to 10,000 years ago, includes cave painting, those in the Chauvet, Altamira, Pecmerle, Auquy-sur-Curie, and La Roche. These are getting harder to say as we go. On portable art, Venus figurines like the Venus of Willendorf, Hubba Hubba, as well as animal carvings like the swirling reindeer. Not any swimming reindeer. Why am I like this? Swimming reindeer. The Wolverine pendant of Lesbos. It's clearly Lesbos. The Wolverines of Lesbos. And several objects known as Beton d'Icomame. D'Icomame? D'Icomame?
I already know what your print.
It's one of those. I mean, that's clearly art on that thing. That's clearly a horse-like head, possibly a bull.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that is a carving. And it's got this big old hole in it. That's a carved hole. That's too perfect to be a natural hole. And if you want a natural hole, oh, sorry, wrong.
I have the Venus of Detroit.
Wrong, Joe. My goodness. I blame Ryan. Ryan was so thirsty, and this would be a good place to put the water ad. But Ryan was so thirsty, it thirstified me by proxy, and I just that's where we're at. It's fine. Lil sends us a super chat for $2. It's all the Venuses actually, and says, all hail the boobies of Venus, the well-known natural phenomenon. Boobies, the boobies. Praise the boobies. Praise the boobies. I know I'm a terrible host. I don't have my boobies visible today, and which is I'm sure why viewership is down. But if I sit further back, you can
you need help with that?
Yeah.
Boobies out.
There we go. Now we've got some boobies. I hope y'all are thrilled.
Do y'all feel better?
Probably.
A little bit, a little bit to the table.
No, I should show them off more. I mean, I spent years growing these damn things. I should show them off. I am very proud of them. They're still growing.
To be my daughters, they're bigger than mine. I'm just a B, and they're like double B's or something like the double D's. I don't compare.
My goodness. It's so wild how we measure cup sizes too, right? Like this is a thing nobody talks about, and I realize we are way the fuck up topic, but people come here for the tangents. It's fine. This is still technically learning because a lot of people don't know. I didn't know, and I've got children who grew boobies. Cup sizes are not what you think. It's not like size per se, right? Like the way that they're typically measured is you measure your rib cage under the boobies. They call it the underbust, but it's the raw rib cage without any boob in the way. That's your band size. So that's where you get like your dimension, whether it's like 32 or 48 or whatever that is. That's where the number part comes from. And then you measure the same thing, but over the boobies. Usually you want to like lean over a little bit so you can like make sure it will fit rather than be too tight. But however you measure it, you measure over the boobies. And like say, for example, your underbust is 36 and over the boobies is let's say if it were 37, that's a 1-inch difference, and that's an A cup. If it were 38, that's a 2-inch difference, and that's a B cup. So each letter cup size corresponds to a 1-inch difference between measuring over the boobies versus under the boobies. So the reason I mention all of this is because D's are only a 4-inch difference. They're not that big. Double D's, or E's if you're not American, are a 5-inch difference. It's bigger. They're noticeable, but they're not that big. Surprisingly, because you hear, people talking all the time. Oh my God, double D's are so. They're not that big, folks. They're just. I mean, they're fine, but they're not like. People make it out like Dolly Parton size. No. That's like double H's or something,
No.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, she had to have back problems.
Speaking.
Girls are beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have thoughts about cup sizes, Deviant? Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Do I have thoughts of cup sizes? I do, actually. But it becomes not very personal, but I don't know how interesting it is for people to know my journey from a prepubescent girl to being well over 30 before I learned how to put on a bra correctly.
In fairness, I'm still not sure I'm doing it right. So it's.
Yeah, it's a technique where you don't put it on when you're standing up or sitting. You stand up and lean forward so you have kind of a free fall. Then you put it on, put on the thingamajigs over the shoulders. You button it in the back, and then you do a certain procedure, like kind of put them into the cups correctly.
So I do it a little bit differently, and maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know, but I'm also a strange person, and nobody taught me half this shit, so I'm just doing my best. So when you have the kind that buckles, is I will like put it on sideways, and I'll do the buckle first, and then spin it so that it's facing in the right direction. Then do the shoulder straps, and then tuck things into place.
Yeah, that's more or less how I used to do it. But the reason you should like lean forward and what word did you use? I said button, but it's not buttons.
Well, sometimes it's buttons. They come in various kinds of attachments. The most common one is a hook and eye.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So that's the reason why you should do it on the back rather than, as you said, sit down and lift up, is so that the band underneath the cup and should go straight over your back, and you lean forward so that the boobs go into the cups in a natural, free flowing way, so to speak. And so this is what I learned. I was maybe 38 or something like that. And on that topic, on the boobie topic, I love these Venus figurines. I have 3 so far. I made my own Venus von Willendorf. And I also had a Venus from Westonice, which is in Czech Republic. And of course, the Greek Venus that we all know and love.
Yes, that was
But I
much more recent.
Yes, much more recent. But they have had quite the interesting history behind them, if you think in terms of how they were interpreted by the early archaeologists when they were first found, and how they are looked on today. Because in the very beginning of archaeology, and I mean archaeology as a newborn scientific field of research, so mid to late 1800s, they were interpreted as toys, as dolls. Like,
Okay,
this
yeah.
is what kids would play with.
Prehistoric Barbies.
Yeah. And then we start to realize that they are more likely some sort of cult object, cult figurine.
Booby cults. I love it.
Booby cults. And ideas about the mother goddess and things like that. And today we speculate, and I have to point out, because I realize that not everyone might be familiar with how even though we have a very science-minded audience, not everyone knows that archaeology is a science, which means archaeology is not walking around picking stuff up from the ground and just making shit up.
Shit, I've been doing it wrong.
I know.
I've been
That's
doing
why
it
I'm
wrong.
here, Amber.
I literally picked this up from the ground, and it is in fact boobies. Well, a boobie.
It's a booby.
Yeah.
It's a booby.
I should just look right at the camera instead of watching the screen. But yeah, in fact, it is the only currently officially recognized grabby squishy booby in the community, I think. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
we
but
need to get more boobies out, folks.
I'm a bit concerned.
Boobies are boobies.
Because when you grab a booby, if you grab it from that angle, someone just lost a booby.
Yeah, like
I know this is sort of like a mastectomy thing, and this is a thing that actually comes up for a lot of trans people. Is a trans masc will meet a trans femme, and they'll get to talking, and they'll be like, "I wish we could just trade parts. It would make life so much easier for both of us."
Yeah.
So just to finish off the that sounds weird. We shouldn't finish off the boobies.
And if you want to finish off, oh, sorry, wrong website again. Oh, goodness.
You can't even plug it no more.
I know.
Well, I was about to think this. Yeah, I'm about to think it is.
Thanks to the other research that has been done since the mid 1800s, the artifacts that we have found, the sites that we have found, and the information that we have been able to collect from those places, it's much more reasonable to think not just that they are a sort of cult object. It's not necessarily so much that they were, because that was a theory that, or a hypothesis that went around, that they were representations of a specific the mother goddess kind of like Mother Earth.
That makes sense. Rather than like a generic behold femininity, it's like a specific concept, like the Gaia spirit, the great mother, if you will.
Exactly. But we now think that not only that it's specific, it's not just generic. We think it might have been specific depictions of a woman in the tribe or the community that produced it. Someone who had a lot of power and influence. And it actually looks as though these societies weren't, oh, Bree, why do you do me like that? So Ron Wyatt is the only true archaeologist. Bree, why? Why do you hate me? Why do you want me to cry?
In fairness, Ron Wyatt has found more things than any other archaeologist ever. They're the wrong
he
thing.
just
He's
hasn't
incorrect
found
about
any
what the things are.
archaeology.
But he
And
has
he's also
found things.
that's mostly because real archaeologists don't walk around and point to lumps of mud and declare them to be the long finger of Noah's wife. But anyway,
you know what? This could
what
be
we have
Mary's
realized.
booby. We don't know it isn't.
Huh?
This could be Mary's booby. We don't know that it isn't.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's true. Could be. Could be.
So, I mean, it's proof of something, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What we today are considering is, so if we think of these figurines as representations of motherhood, of the motherhood of the earth, and also fertility. And it's not a ethereal, it's not a divinity the way we think of divinities today, but an actual living person in this community. It seems that not only that there is a cult surrounding this individual, but that individual also has a lot of power and influence. And since we're not really talking about political systems of influence as we do today, or even later on in the historic era, we're talking about tribes and ancestor worship and that sort of thing. It's very plausible that these societies were actually matriarchal, not that it was a patriarchal society where the men allowed. Where the men. I got a sweets from Sit.
Aha.
Damn it, so.
That we got a not a patriarchal society that allowed, quote unquote, for a cult of a mother goddess, but rather that due to the importance of fertility, not just fertility within the tribe or the community, but the fertility of the land and the animals that they were dependent on, it's reasonable to think that these women also had a lot of power, making it a matriarchy. Of course, as we don't have much from these, we have a whole lot. We have much more than you would think, given how long ago it was. But it's not like medieval Europe or ancient Egypt. And the lack of writing is, of course, also an issue. But they are very intriguing, and they are very, very beautiful in kind of a kind of a weird, to me, so to me, when I look at Venus of Willendorf, it's not a style of art that I would usually be drawn to, but I am drawn to these Venus figurines. And I don't know if you saw when I came into chat, what I wrote about writing and them not having been able to. Sorry?
Writing about writing is so meta.
I know.
It's like thinking about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just dying in the side to it.
Yeah, it's in the wiki article here. It said something about very early Maya or something like that, and it not necessarily being viewed as historic because we can't decipher their writing system. And I just wanted to point out that while that might sound racist, and it might sound as though we look down upon them because I'll answer that afterwards, Theo, in a while. Remind me, because that's interesting.
Don't let them sidetrack you. They're ruthless.
No, I won't.
Bloody pirates.
Exactly. Bloody Swiss. Because we when we talk about history and prehistory and what we deem to be, for instance, we use the word civilization, and there are, even though they're not many, but there are societies today that doesn't qualify as civilizations. It's not to say that they are lesser or of lower worth or not as human as we are. That's the kind of shit that you come across in pseudo archaeology and pseudoscience.
That's the kind of shit that made it take so long for people to take archaeology seriously, because either they were racist, using it for racist purposes and didn't care about the science, or they saw the racists using it for racist purposes and went, "This is some bigotry bullshit. No, I'm nope, not doing it."
Yeah, and it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem because the reason we use those words within these fields of research and science is simply because we need to have markers to divide our history and the time spans. It's like I've said before, the ancient Egyptians never ever would say that, oh, we live in the new kingdom. No, that's bonkers. They would never say, oh, we're in the intermediate period.
Yeah.
No, never. Like, we use that to be able to um, grasp long periods of time and divide them into certain groups to kind of get a better overview of what we are talking about. And since there is such a moving from art, like pure decorative art, to actual writing systems, that's a very gradient, fluent development.
It's us
And it's
drawing lines after the fact, like with the kingdom.
exactly because when we talk about like rock paintings, the ones we have found in, or what's the name of that cave in France? Lacroix.
Oh yeah, the cave in France, the France
Yeah.
cave. Let's see, cave paintings. Lascaux. I can't
Lascaux.
even. Oh, we did have an image earlier. I would have just scrolled through the article, but I wasn't sure it'd be in
Oh.
there. But
Oh.
yeah,
Yes.
there's
Lascaux.
like
When we see it today,
Oh, that's pretty. I
we
like
think art when we see that.
Yeah.
But art is decorative. And even me saying art is decorative is me like narrowing the concept of art. Because a lot of the art that we see today, yeah, it's decorative, but it's not all it is. It's also, it conveys a message. So these images too, that's, I like the grin on the beast's face.
So like what we're looking at here, I it's a famous scene, but like I hadn't come across it before. So we've got a dude and we've got a bison with gigantic balls. It's probably actually a cow, and those are udders, but whatever. And like the dude is just floored, and the bison just has giant balls. It's just I'm amused. But yeah, there's a big difference. Like this isn't just descriptive; it's
No.
artistic. There's a level of like the shading. That's not necessary to draw a picture of the dun horse.
No, but it might be, because remember what that, or maybe I haven't told you about that. I think I have. Egyptian hieroglyphs, when you see them on the walls of temples, they're not merely writing. It's more like a comic book strips, where the images, we divide it into, oh, here we have the hieroglyphs, they are the text, and here is the image, that's the art, the depiction. But to the ancient Egyptians, there wasn't really any difference between the two. So we view these cave paintings as art, and we say maybe they have a ritualistic element to them. But in actuality, it might be what would later become writing. And the fact that they are like not just the outline, making that distinction, saying because they are like shaded and whatnot, it's art, it's not writing, it's not a message. But that's not true, because we have this concept of the image, as is the case in Egypt, depicting something makes it come alive. It makes it true in reality, in time and space. And the more like it is the original thing, the more potent the writing is.
Yeah.
So in a way, these rock carvings might, as we don't know it, if I say it like this, these rock paintings might be just decoration, might be just, we want something pretty to look at, or maybe they are educational, or maybe they are connected to some sort of magic ritual, of finding a way to control the world around you. So when we find something, like for instance, you showed the bone with the lines on it.
Mm-hmm.
To us, it looks like it's decorated, but it could also have it could also tell you something if you knew those lines. It could tell you something significant that you need to know, and suddenly it holds information. It becomes a form of proto-writing, but proto-writing still puts it in the prehistoric era.
Yeah, but we still use it today. Like when I first saw this, because of the near 45-degree angle, it made me think of the 3 arrow symbol that we see in a lot of anti-fascist art from the middle of the last century, that's seeing a resurgence today as we're dealing with fascists again. And I'm like, to a person of the time, if those 3 parallel lines at that angle represented anti-fascist or maybe anti-chieftainism, whatever the fuck it meant, if you knew that's what it meant, then the idea was communicated. It effectively was writing. It just wasn't in a language, you know?
Yeah. So, and it's not so much the way they had written it in the wiki article made it sound as though, oh, we can't decipher it, so fuck those people.
I know,
and
that broke my brain.
Yeah, and I might, if I find the time and the inspiration, I might go in and correct that, because I sometimes edit articles it's mostly grammatical things I do, but sometimes I do more substantial addings and so forth.
Yeah, and that's one of the pluses to Wikipedia is that
Mm-hmm.
errors can get corrected in near real time. The downside is sometimes there's errors like that, but that's why we pay attention to the references and we think critically about the writing, the same as we should for an actual encyclopedia. Do you have any idea how many times Encyclopedia Britannica has been corrected on something? Just because it's in a book doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Remember, there's fictional books too.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the encyclopedia is intended to be non-fictional, but it's still written by humans who can still fuck things up.
Oh yeah, my parents have from my grandparents an encyclopedia from I believe 1923,
Oh, wow.
where you can see images of people from different parts of the world, and it's like the description of them includes things like being lazy or it's hard for me to fully give you a sense of the language because it's Swedish words from that era that are not used in Swedish today, and it's also not used in English today. But maybe you can imagine.
Oh, I'm already imagining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're just saying lazy. That just showed me right there.
Yeah, it's that sort, and like the N man is not fond of, but dancing, and the brow ridge shows a close resemblance to its African predecessor. It's not good. It's not good. But that was in 1923.
Well, like Kip was saying earlier, a lot of the huge things have happened in the last century, right? Like this cave, the Le Quab, or whatever the fuck. I'm bad at pronouncing things. I'm American. This cave was discovered in 1940. You know, the Dead Sea Scrolls are from the last century. The Ugaritic texts are from the last century. Like we have this idea in our heads that everything we know about the past now is the pinnacle of knowledge about the past. But we keep making titanic discoveries. There, someone else mentioned a thing moments ago about dogs in cave paintings, and it's true. There aren't dogs in a lot of ancient cave paintings. The oldest paintings of dogs we know of are about 8,000 years ago. And this is a within this century discovery. Like it seems to be around 2017-ish, maybe slightly earlier, when we found this, and it made news. And it's paintings with dogs, and we can see the artistic style. It's getting more artistic as we move from the past to the present. There's so much to this. But that may be one more way. We've estimated from genetics that taking wolves and turning them into dogs happened somewhere around 12 to 10,000 years ago. And then we don't see them in art prior to 8,000 years ago. So we have two different lines of evidence that give us a general range of when the dogging happened. But
see, that's also because we have to also take into account the fact that take ancient Egypt, for instance. We know they venerated cats. We have we know, of course, of the cat goddess Bastet.
Of course.
we have seen paintings in tombs of the tomb owner, and underneath there is a cat under the stool they are sitting on. But we don't find, and the same goes for, we know they had dogs, but the first time, and we know that they took what they wanted in the afterlife, they took with them in the hereafter. You would then think that you would see cats and dogs being buried with their owners. No. There is, to my knowledge, there is only one such instance from ancient Egypt, and that grave was excavated in, I believe, 2000, somewhere between 2019 and 2021. Kitty.
Oh.
So it's possible that the reason that dogs aren't in these cave paintings might be because they are domesticated, and what they are depicting is wildlife, the type of animals that they don't control rather than the type of animals they do control, the type of animals that they use for their survival rather than the animals that they use to help them with their survival, or how you want to.
I am loving learning this so much, but I need to go because I do have to go to work in about an hour or so.
Oh, yes. We
Always
are
great.
We
We're
are
past
way
it.
over. I'm just getting.
But I'm learning so
off
much
the
though.
science.
That's why I didn't really
know.
want to get off.
I love art. I love science. I love history. This, incidentally,
And we
is
love deviant
sculpture
Oh.
from about 4,000 years ago, closer to the present, more detailed. But this is also a cosmetics vessel, so it does have utility. But it also indicates the presence of cosmetics. Like we learn so much from every single little bitty thing, and it's so fucking amazing. But we are really over, and we've got to go for today. But yeah, Deviant is a gem. It's always so cool.
Oh.
When you drop in, and it's lovely to see you. But we do have to wrap up for today. So thank you all so much for joining us. If you're new here, or if you're watching in the future, please take a second to subscribe. We're here every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, learning about a different topic every day. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about brain bugs. That's right. Your brain, like your guts, has a microbiome, and it's more important than you might think. So make sure you join us, because if not, it could it could be a whole thing. Oh, goodness. I have word that our friend Joe over at the Kentucky Atheist is getting ready to do a thing. So
awesome.
If anybody wants to drop a link, fair game. And yeah, all the fun things. Before we go, I want to thank everybody who sent a super chat, because believe it or not, it helps. It makes a big fucking difference. So first up, Cosmic Kyle sent $5 saying, paying forward community love. I can speak on behalf of everyone here when I say, Ember, you're a necessity, essential, and we love you. And I know it's not true for everyone in the community, but I do appreciate the sentiment very, very much. The fact you people are here, you come to spend time with us, it means the fucking world to me, and I appreciate it. Kelly, who just had to depart, love to see her. She's often on the show. She sent $5 saying, morning coffee for a favorite empress. Jester sent $2 saying, I believe you have a historian ready to join, which is how we got a lovely deviant on today. And Willable Trades sent $2 saying, all hail the boobies of Venus. And that's good advice for everyone. Hail the boobies.
It is. I love
All right.
boobies.
As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Push the buttons, do the things, and as always,
Share.
remember, you don't have to pretend that none of this happened because the Earth is only 6,000 years old, because you are better than religion. Toodles! Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back now.